Okay, so this will be a video lecture on the topic of animal nutrition. So I'm planning to make all or discuss all of the topics in animal nutrition in a video lecture format kasi we do not have that much of a time. May 11, actually yung last day of classes, ano na, magma-March na. Actually, March na, mga second week or third week ng March na magmi-meet ulit tayo. So, I've decided to make this series of video lectures para sa ganun, mako-cover or madidiscuss ko pa rin yung mga topics na kailangan kong i-discuss and at the same time, hopefully, mahabol natin lahat or makover natin more or less lahat ng topics para sa ganun you can review na or and hopefully can pass your TCEF exam. Okay, so yan. So with that, madami. So please be ready. I do hope that you have enough data, good internet connection, good connection kasi medyo madami yung i-discuss natin for this video lecture. So first, let's na ano pala yung ano ko na ano yung video na cover. Pero first, let's basically a review on the definition of terms. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, nutrition, food, nutrients, D is digestion, E is absorption, and then F is metabolism. So yung una, series of processes by which an organism takes in and assimilates food for promoting growth and replacing worn out tissues. So ano ito? Series of processes, basically ano yung steps, yun yung hinahanap. Yung step daw wherein yung organism, in this case, yung mga livestock and poultry species natin, tinetake in, kinukuha yung food, and then basically ini in, nilalagay, ina-absorb, and then mine-metabolize for growth and replace burnout tissues. So ano yung term na yan? That is actually nutrition. Okay? So, pwede bang wait lang, tingnan natin. Ayun, wala pala. Sorry, that is nutrition. Basta pag sinabing series of processes or steps, yun yung nutrition. Ano nga ba yung mga steps na yun? Actually, nandyan na din sa choices. You have yung una is apprehension. Basically, kukunin. So, different animals have different prehension organs, prehensile organs. Like for example, sa cattle, yung tongue, sa baboy yung snout, mga ganun. Sa kambing, I guess pwede yung teeth. Yung sa sheep, pwede yung lips kasi mobile yung lips niya. So, mga ganun. So, after prehension, pag nakuha na, ida-digest na through mechanical digestion, chemical digestion. So, doon yung digestion. And then, yung third step is absorption. And then, yung fourth step is yung metabolism. So, those are your series and processes. And um, it is under what we call as the nutrition. Okay? Then, another one, any feed constituents or a group of feed constituents of the same general composition that aids in the support of life. So, ano daw yung feed or a group of feed constituents of the same general composition na aids in the support of life. So, pwedeng sabihin natin that is the food. Okay? It is food. Then um, transfer of substances from gastrointestinal tract, basically sa digestive organ mo, papunta sa circulatory system or sa blood, sa circulatory system and then eventually into the organs. So, yung pag-transfer daw, that is letter E, absorption. So, yung absorption, may mga types of absorption. We can discuss that as we go on along with our discussion. You have your passive diffusion, active diffusion, you have yung active transport, mga ganun. So, basta pag sinabing absorption, sa digestive tract, pupunta sa circulatory tract. Kung ano man yung mode of transportation or mechanism kung paano na-transfer yung nutrients from the digestive tract um, into the circulatory system, um, madidiscuss yun. Pero kung ano man yun, basta absorption yung tawag doon. Okay? Then, all chemical reactions performed by the cell to use the basic units of the nutrients for their specific function. Ano daw yung chemical reaction na tinatawag? Basically, na nangyayari doon sa cell. So, anong ginagawa? Ni-utilize, ginagamit yung basic unit ng mga nutrients. Like for example, sa carbohydrate, ano ba yung pinaka-basic nutrients niya? Glucose. Uh, para ano, for their specific function, para para maging or for the activity or for the function, proper functioning ng mga organs. Ano 'yon? So it is metabolism. Okay? So lahat ng mga chemical reaction, diyan papasok yung glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, carboxylic acid cycle, electron transport chain. Yung mga yan, those are your chemical reactions. And ginagamit nila yung na-absorb na nutrients para makabuo ng energy na ginagamit ngayon ng cell, ng mga tissue, organs para sa kanilang proper function. Okay? So yan, para sa kanilang specific function. Then for the metabolism, we actually have what we call as anabolism and catabolism. Ano nga ba yung anabolism? So, imagine lang yung parang bahay. So, pag sinabing anabolism, you start from a hollow block and then from there, with a series of processes, with a series of reaction, kumbaga, yung hollow blocks na yun, naging bahay. So that's constructive. Kaya nga constructive yung anabolism. From one simple substance, naging very complicated na, very complex na substance na. So kino-construct mo. Okay, yun yung ibig sabihin ng anabolism. Pag sinabi namang catabolism, yung kabaliktaran. Meron ka ng bahay, ide-demolish mo into a hollow blocks. Destructive yung catabolism. So from a more complicated or complicated na parang substance or molecule, through catabolism, nagiging mas simpler na siya. So, yan. Bakit ba, ano ba to? Saan ba nakikita? Sa digestion usually. So, sa catabolism, from a starch na substance, na molecule, nagiging simple na lang na glucose. Ganon yung catabolism. Nung anabolism naman, from a simple glucose, nagiging complicated na molecule na siya, na substance, hanggang sa maging ATP or adenosine triphosphate or yung energy na tinatawag. Okay? So, yan. Yan yung two types ng metabolism natin. Then, ano naman yung chemical element or compounds present in feed that support health, basic body maintenance, or productivity? So, ano naman yun? Yun daw yung parang element or compound na nandun sa feed mismo na ang function is para mabuhay yung animal, para maging productive yung animal. So, ano ba yung purpose kung bakit tayo kumakain? So, yung purpose is actually to ingest or intake yung mga nutrients na nandun sa food para tayo ay mabuhay. So, yung answer dito is nutrients. Okay? So, yan. Any chemical elements, ano ba yung chemical elements na tinatawag dito? Yung CHO, CHON, mga ganun. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, that is actually your protein. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen is actually your carbohydrate. Okay? So, yun yung mga definition of terms natin. Madami pang mga iba-ibang definition of terms, and as we go on along with this video lecture, we will discuss all of that. Hopefully, we will discuss all of that. Okay? Yan. So with that, we have what we call as the proximate analysis. Ano nga ba yung proximate analysis? It determines the values of the macronutrients in feed sample. Is it accurate? More or less yung pinakaunang proximate analysis, hindi siya ganun ka-accurate. Like for example sa mga inorganic natin na part, where sa mineral kumbaga, may mga may mga minerals that are highly much volatile compared to others na pag binurn mo kasi and you turn it into ash yung feed, um, yung may mga matitirang minerals pero meron ding mga nawawalang minerals. Parang ganun. Hindi mo na-account na yung mga nawalang minerals. Parang ganun. So, it is not 100% accurate, pero it can be accurate enough that it will give you an idea on how of the nutrient content of the feed. So, yan. Ano itong nakikitang diagram dito? That's your typical na ano, parang diagram na pinapakita when it comes to proximate analysis. So you have your feed. Sa feed kasi it is composed of water at saka dry matter content. So, ang ginagawa actually is tinatanggal yung tubig para yung nakikita na lang or is yung mga dry matter content. So sa dry matter content, you have your organic part and then your inorganic part. Sa organic part, you have your carbohydrates, you have your protein, your fats, your vitamins, and then sa inorganic parts, those are your minerals. So parang ganyan. May mga series of laboratory procedures para ma-determine, like for example dito, ma-determine mo through yung oven, sa oven drying, kumbaga, yung moisture content and yung dry matter content. And then for the CHO, you have your Kedal method, your protein, you have your Kedal method, mga ganun. Okay, so yan yung proximate analysis. So to further discuss on that, in ang ano is si Hindenburg and Stoneman at the Windy Experiment Station in Germany. So sila yung parang pioneers ng 1865. So it is also known as the Windy system of analysis. So kung makikita ito another diagram kung saan yung dry matter content niya, nawala na yung moisture content, at para makuha yung crude protein, para makuha yung crude protein content, you have your Kendall procedure. Para makuha yung ether extract, you have your ether extraction. Para makuha yung crude fiber, you boil it in acid, and boil it in alkaline. And then para makuha yung ash, you burn it. Parang ganyan. It's a very simple na diagram for the proximate analysis, pero it gives you an overview kung ano yung mga ginagawa para makuha yung mga specific contents, specific values ng mga nutrient contents natin. So, first will be on the dry matter. So, paano ba? It is determined by drying the test material at around 105 degrees Celsius overnight in an oven. So, hindi ito yung ano hindi ito yung oven na nakikita sa bahay ninyo. Baka papadasin nyo to, hindi. Industrial oven siya na it is specifically designed for tests like this, for analysis like this. So, paano mako-compute? Percent DM, that is equal to the dry weight ng feed natin divided by the fresh weight. Saan mo makukuha yung dry weight? Yung dry weight is yung weight ng feed after mo isinalang sa oven. Yung fresh weight, yun yung weight ng feed nung kinuha mo na siya, wala ka pang ginagawa, wala ka pang ginagalaw, kumbaga fresh pa siya. Okay? So times 100 kasi nga percentage yung kukunin natin. So example, fresh weight is 2 kg, yung dry weight is 0.7 kg. Paano gagawin yan? Basically, labas natin yung mga calculators natin. So, dry weight 0.7 kg divided by yung 2 kg na fresh weight times 100, that's 35% dry matter content. Ganun lang yung gagawin sa dry matter. So, very simple, kumbaga. In theory, very simple. So, yan. So, I hope na naintindihan kung paano gawin ang dry matter content or dry matter percentage. And then we have your crude protein. Hindi ko na i-discuss yung Kedal method or Kedal analysis. Meron mga ano yan, mga procedures, kumbaga. Eh, search nyo ninyo sa internet. Meron naman yung mas detailed na procedure para paano makuha. Basta pag tinanong kung ano yung gagawin or paano kunin yung value for crude protein, sabihin ninyo Kedal analysis or Kedal method. So, ang ginagawa kasi, hindi, laging tatandaan to hindi mismo yung crude protein content or the value of the crude protein content yung kinukuha sa Kedal analysis. Ang kinukuha dito is yung nitrogen content. Tapos, para makuha yung percent crude protein, yung nitrogen content na nakuha through this laboratory procedure, minomultiply sa 6.25. Yan para makuha yung crude protein content. Ngayon, saan ba nakuha yung 6.25? Baka magpatpatang lang ni Johan Keldal. Bakit 6.25? So basically, yung 6.25 comes from the fact that 16% ng ano tawag nito? 16% nung total na parang hindi naman. 16% ng protein is nitrogen. Laging tatandaan yung protein kasi, magsulat ako para alam natin. Ito yung mahirap pag video lecture hindi na kakasulat. Laging tatandaan yung protein, it is composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Meron ding mga phosphorus and sulfur pero negligible na lang. Yan na lang, chon. Okay? So, sinasabi daw, or it is a fact na more or less yung nitrogen content ng isang protein is around 16%. Okay? So, 16%. So, dyan nakuha yung 6.25. Paano nakuha yung 6.25 dyan? You divide 100% of the total element content, kumbaga, ng protein into the 16% na nitrogen content ng protein, that is equal to 6.25. Okay? So, yan. Kasi nga, sinasabi na nakuha mo na yung protein content if nakuha mo na yung content percent nitrogen content ng isang anong tawag nito ng isang feed. Ngayon, kaya nga siya tinawag na crude protein. This is because inassume na lahat ng mga nitrogen, lahat ng mga na account na nitrogen is galing mismo sa protein. Pero in reality, may mga tinatawag kasi tayong non-protein nitrogen. Yung mga non-protein nitrogen na yon, hindi sila protein, but they can, anong tawag nito? They can be a source of nitrogen. So, dyan nag-aano yung accuracy na sinasabi ko kanina. If you want to look into the true protein, hindi dito sa Kedal analysis. Kasi nga, yung kinukuha dito is percent nitrogen. Baka may mga iba pang substances doon sa feed mismo na aside from protein, nagbibigay din ng nitrogen. Kaya nga crude meaning lahatan, parang ganun. Sinearch ko talaga sa sa internet and yun yung sinabi, yun yung pagkakaintindi ko, lahatan, parang ganun. It's not pure protein kumbaga, so crude protein. Kasi nga again, remember that not all of the sources ng nitrogen is protein. May mga iba pa kasing sources ng nitrogen tayo. Pero this is the best that we can do para ma-approximate kung ano yung crude protein content, percent crude protein content ng isang feed. So, like for example, you have 7.35 grams ng crude protein content. So, you just multiply it by 6.25. Makukuha mo na. Ganun. So, yan. Then, we have either extract. Sa either extract, crude fat din yung tawag doon. So, fats, fatty acids, esters, fat-soluble vitamins, all account or kinukuha as either extract. So, kahit hindi siya talaga pure na fat, ina-account. Kaya nga crude fat yung tawag doon. So, to isolate the fraction of the feedstuff that has a high caloric value. Ang ano ko dito, binoboil sa either This is an organic binoboil siya para makuha yung either extract. So basically this is your fat. And then you have your ash, residual meaning after all the organic nutrients have been burned off or oxidized completely in an oven at 500 degrees Celsius to 600 degrees Celsius for 2 to 4 hours. So yan, ang taas, 500 times 5 of the boiling point of water. So 500 to 600. So mainit yan. So meaning all of the organic matter na talagang mauram, mawawala yan. Pero dyan yung sinasabi ko kanina again with the accuracy. May mga nakalimutan ko na kung anong minerals yun. May nabasa ako noon na may mga minerals kasi that are much volatile compared to others that they can be burned off uh, at this temperature at around 500 to 600 degrees Celsius. So nawawala yun. So meaning hindi na siya na-account as mineral content. So yan. Pero again, hindi naman siya ganun kataas na um, ang daming nawala na mineral, hindi naman. Um, Meron lang mawawala, pero most of the mineral content naman na-account. So yan yung ash natin. Then you have your crude fiber. So it estimates the indigestible fraction of feeds or those fraction of the feeds that are fermented in the hindgut by microbes and has little energy value but is important for the gut health in pigs and poultry while the ruminants naman can ferment a large portion of crude fiber. Sa crude fiber kasi, ito yung medyo um, meron tayong pinakamataas yung inaccuracy when it comes to crude fiber kasi hindi niya na-account lahat. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na, anyway, I hope na ma-discuss natin. Meron tayong tinatawag na para makuha talaga yung true fiber content or more or less a more accurate way to get the value of the fiber content. You have your acid detergent fiber, and then you also have your NDF, neutral detergent fiber ata yung tawag dito. So, anyway, I'll make another video lecture discussing itong ADF and NDF na to. Okay? So, pero yan yung crude fiber natin. It estimates yung mga indigestible na part ng feed. So, yan. Okay, so with all of that said and done, um, last, okay? Laging tatandaan, ito yung pinaka-last. Kasi hindi mo naman makukompute yung nitrogen-free extract, percent nitrogen-free extract, if wala kang value ng percent DM, wala kang value ng percent CP, wala kang value ng percent either extract, percent ash, and percent crude fiber. So, ano nga ba yung NFE? It represents the soluble naman na carbohydrates of the feed. Kasi nga yung CF kanina, yun ina-account yung indigestible part of the feed. Eh yung ash naman, ina-account yung mineral content. Yung either extract, ina-account yung fat. And then yung CP, ina-account basically the protein. So what's left now is yung carbohydrates that is soluble. Okay, such as starch and yung mga sugars natin. So, paano nako-compute yan? It is a difference between the original sample weight and the sum of the weight of moisture, the either extract, the crude protein, the crude fiber, and the ash. So, NFE is equal to percent DM minus the sum of the percent CP plus the sum of the percent CP, percent EE, percent A, and percent CF. Okay? So, yan yung proximate analysis. A brief introduction to the proximate analysis. Bakit ba importante yung proximate analysis? It is because we get more or less a ballpark estimate of the nutrient content of our feedstuff so that it aids us when comes the time that we will formulate for the feed ng mga animals natin. And then it also help us look for mga feed ingredients, feedstuff natin na may potential. Ito palang weed na ito, mataas pala yung crude protein. So, through proximate analysis, nakuha mo mataas yung protein. So, you can use that maybe as a protein supplement, parang ganun. So, yan, importante na we need to have a um, this proximate analysis in order for us to know the nutrient content of our feedstuff. Yan. Okay, so with that, we have your classes of nutrients. Ano nga ba yung mga classes of nutrients natin? Yung first will be water. So when we say water, cheapest and most abundant nutrient. Bakit pa cheap? Almost all naman is readily available sa farm mo. Although it is not cheap per se, na wala ka nang binayaran para makuha yun, meron pa rin. So tayo pinagpakulukol mo or tayo pinagpa-anam ti nawasa, those are may cost naman yon. So, hindi siya totally free, pero siya yung pinaka readily available in a sense na since available na siya, ay cheapest and abundant na rin. Okay? So, it makes up to about 65 to 85% of weight at birth and 45 to 60% of weight at maturity. So, ganyan kataas yung ating um, percentage ng tubig sa ating mga body. So if you notice, as you grow older, tataas ba or bababa yung percentage? So kung makikita, bumababa yung percent water natin. So from 65%, nagiging 45% na lang. Okay? So kabaliktaran ito ng percent fat, I think, kung di ako nagkakamali. So from lower percentage, nagiging higher yung percentage ng percent fat as you grow older. So, yan. Ay, nandiyan pala. Percentage of body water decreases with age and has an inverse relationship with body fat. So, yan. Inverse relationship din yung kabaliktaran niya. Percentage of fat, body fat, increases with age, while the percentage of body water decreases with age. Okay? So, yan. Hindi ko na-discuss pero for water, wala nang digestion na nangyayari. Hamong mga galgalin, DJ Danong. Okay? Wala namang mechanical digestion na nagagawa. Wala namang chemical digestion na nagagawa, basically. Um, Kasi nga, nasa simplest form na rin naman yung water, H2O. Then you have your carbohydrate. So yung carbohydrate naman, it is made up of CHO. Laging tatandaan. Walang Na. Pag mayroong N na, nagiging protein na yan. So CHO lang. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So 40% carbon, 7% hydrogen, 53% oxygen. So by percent molecular weight. Makikita na parehas sila nung fat actually. Pero magkakaiba sila ng um, anong tawag to? Magkakaiba sila ng percentage when it comes to the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. And that is the reason, yung difference between percentage ng mga carbohydrate and fats natin. That is the reason why mas mataas ng 2.25 times more na energy yung fat natin compared sa carbohydrate. That is because of the difference between the percentage of the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Particularly on the oxygen part. Okay? So anyway, sa carbohydrate kasi natin, it is a source of heat or energy. So main source talaga ng energy natin yung carbohydrate. So it is essential for essential components of production, temperature control, and proper functioning of the body. So, laging tatandaan to pag meron kang mga extra na carbohydrates na hindi nagamit ng body mo, it is stored sa animal body, it is stored as glycogen. Okay? Ngayon, if you are deficient or medyo ano ka, may mga hindi naman deficiency and may hindi balance kumbaga yung carbohydrate. We have what we call as ketosis, a metabolic state that occurs when your body burns fat for energy instead of glucose. Ketosis yung tawag doon. Mga diseases due to imbalance kumbaga ng carbohydrates. Then you have diabetes mellitus, you have high glucose level. So, yeah. Ngayon, we have classification of carbohydrate based on sugar molecule. So pag sinabing monosaccharide, isa lang. Isang sugar molecule lang yon. Disaccharide, that's 2. Pag sinabing oligosaccharides, that is 3 to 15. And then pag sinabing polysaccharides, that is large polymers, basically complex na mga molecules of carbohydrates. So, pag sinabing monosaccharides, we have sub-classification for this. You have hexoses, pentoses. Pag sinabing hexoses, hexagon, or 6, kumbaga. So, hexoses. Bakit 6? Kasi sa sugar molecule, meron kang 6 na carbon. So, makikita dito sa ating picture, this is what we call as hexoses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Meron siyang 6 carbon doon. So, you have your glucose, your fructose, galactose, and mannose. Those are hexoses. Pentoses, you have your arabinose, xylose, and ribose. Please memorize all of this. Baka lumabas sa exam ninyo. Anong tawag nito? These are the simplest na classification ng carbohydrate. Ito actually yung ina-absorb na ng katawan. Kasi nga simple lang sila, isa lang, 'di ba? Pag sinabing monosaccharide, one sugar molecule, isa lang naman 'to. Wala ka namang makitang iba pa. Okay? So yan yung ating monosaccharide. Pag sinabi namang disaccharide, syempre pag mono kasi 1, pag di, dalawa. Okay? So, 2 sugar molecule naman to. Much complicated compared sa monosaccharide natin. Kasi nga, kung titignan, isang sugar molecule. So, dalawa na. Okay? Pwede ba? Ang tanong, pwede bang i-absorb? Parang may na-absorb na mga ganito, disaccharide. Pero it is better if it is digested, converted into its simplest form, which is monosaccharide. So you have your sucrose, maltose, lactose, cellulose. Those are your disaccharides naman. Then, polysaccharides, yung sinabi ko kanina, 3 to 15 sugar molecules. So, ang dami na. Ang dami na yun. So, ang tanong, pwede bang i-absorb to? No. Basically, nahihirapan. Hindi makakapasok yan sa butas, kumbaga. Kumbaga, ito yung butas. Ganyan kaliit. Ito yung polysaccharide. Di yan makakapasok. Okay? So, you have your starch. You have amylose, amylopectins, glycogens. These are examples of starch, and they fall under the category of polysaccharides, basically complex molecules, sugar molecules, because they have 3 to 15 molecules. Okay, so yan yung classification natin. And then, naulit lang pala, ito yung function niya, source of energy, source of heat, building stores for other nutrients, and then stored in the animal body uh, as glycogen. Then, ito yung mga deficiencies. Then, we have yung fat or lipid or either extract na tinatawag. So, makikita 77% carbon, parehas sila, okay? Yung sinabi ko kanina, parehas sila. 77 percent carbon, 12% hydrogen, and then 11% oxygen. So, parehas sila ng element composition doon sa carbohydrates natin. Pero, again, yung pagkakaiba is on the percentage. And yung sinabi ko kanina, this is the reason why fat yields 2.25 times more energy compared to the carbohydrates or proteins. Mas maliit yung oxygen content niya um, compared to the others. So it is insoluble in water but soluble in organic solvent. This is the reason why medyo kakaiba yung pag-digest sa ating and pag-absorb sa ating mga fats. Meron pa yung tinatawag na chylomicron wherein kailangan niya na pumasok doon, kailangan na nandoon yung mga fats para makapasok papunta sa circulatory system, parang ganun. Or dapat before na lumabas sa digestive tract, kailangan muna na maging chylomicrons, mga ganun. Aside from that, you need the emulsification via or by the aid of the bile. So, medyo mas complicated yung digest and pag-absorb kay fat kasi nga it is insoluble in water. Pero again, they are soluble in organic solvent. Ngayon, yung tanong, fat mas mataas, 2.25, nandyan na, 2.25 times more energy. So, yung tanong, bakit hindi ito yung ginagamit as a main source of energy? Usually, when it comes to formulating feed, yung pinakamataas pa rin na percentage will be that of the carbohydrates. So, why not fat? Siya yung nag-yield ng 2.25 times more energy. The reason why is that aside from it being more expensive and less hindi naman less, more scarce compared sa sa carbohydrates natin na madami kang sources ng carbohydrates. Aside from it being expensive, is that easily ang tawag no, na madaling ma-oxidize yung ating fat. So, anong ibig sabihin ng madaling ma-oxidize? Alis to nga mabangles yung ating fat, it can go bad pretty quickly yung feed if it is made of a lot of fats or a huge percentage of that feed is made up of fat. So, it can go rancid quickly, kumbaga. So, yun yung reason. And then, it is also expensive. Okay? So, yan. Yan yung fat natin. So, function, dietary supply, source of heat, insulation, and protection of animal body. It is also a source of essential fatty acids. You have yung linoleic, linolenic, and arachidonic. So, these are your essential fatty acids. And then serve as a carrier for absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. So, syempre, kasi nga fat-soluble vitamins. So, they are only soluble in fat. So, you need the fat to actually utilize that vitamins. Okay? We have, when we talk about fats, we have what we call as the saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. So, ito yung mga definitions nila. Pag sinabing saturated fatty acids, no double bonds, you have your stearic acid, capric acid, palmitic acid, myristic acids. Mamaya makikita yung parang picture para ma-visualize natin yung ano ba, bakit ba tinawag na saturated, bakit ba tinawag na unsaturated fatty acid. So, sa unsaturated fatty acids natin, dito yung presence of double bonds, like dito na yung mga linoleic, linolenic and oleic acids natin. LOL, LUL. Okay? Then polyunsaturated fatty acids more than two double bonds. Okay? So yan. So, dyan pa lang makikita na, di ba sinabi ko kanina yung mga essential fatty acids natin, linoleic, linolenic. So, meaning, unsaturated fatty acid is the healthier kumbaga na option when it comes to ano ba yung pwede kong i-consume na fatty acid? Ano ba yung mas healthy? It is actually unsaturated fatty acid. Okay? Not saturated fatty acid. So ito yung sinasabi ko. So makikita yung sa taas, that's your saturated fatty acid. And then doon sa baba, that's your unsaturated fatty acid. So ano ba yung pagkakaiba? Yung pagkakaiba is actually on the, aside from the double bond na sinabi ko kanina, so makikita sa saturated fatty acids, walang double bond, wala kang makikita, puro one lang yan. Yung ano ba yung double bond na sinasabi? Yan, yung mga yan. Yung mga nagbaband dito sa mga carbon molecule with that of the hydrogen molecule. So yan, okay? Iisa lang, isang line lang. Pero dito sa unsaturated fatty acids, meron kang makikita mga double bonds. Okay? Yan, may mga makikita kang double bonds. So, ano nito, yung palagi kong iniisip when it comes to saturated and unsaturated fatty acid is that meron kang tissue, tapos nilagay mo sa tubig, saturated na yon. Saturated tissue na kasi na-absorb niya yung tubig. Lahat ng part ng tissue na is basa na. Ganon yung saturated, di ba? Parang ganon. So, ganon yung palagi kong iniisip para ma-distinguish ko that of the saturated fatty acid and the unsaturated fatty acids. Because of that. So, kung basa na, lahat na ng part ng tissue is basa, saturated na siya. Um, doon ko inisip, saturated fatty acid, ganun din. Lahat ng part ng saturated fatty acid, merong nakaakibat or merong naka-attach na hydrogen. Makikita dito. Yan. Yan yung mga hydrogen. Wala kang makikitang gap. Lahat ng carbon dyan, merong naka-attach na hydrogen. Okay? So, yan. Pero sa unsaturated fatty acids, pag sinawsaw mo yung tissue doon sa tubig, and merong part na dry pa rin, that's unsaturated. Hindi siya saturated. Kasi nga, dapat pag sinabing saturated, na-cover na lahat, na-cover ng tubig lahat. Pero doon sa example, mayroong part na hindi na cover, that's basically unsaturated pa. So, ganun din yung makikita dito. Merong mga carbons na walang nakalink na hydrogen. Meron sa kabila pero wala dito sa kabila. So yan yung ibig sabihin ng unsaturated fatty acids. Ngayon yung sinabi ko kanina, mas healthy yung unsaturated fatty acids compared to saturated fatty acid. Kasi nga yung saturated fatty acid, it can block off yung pag masyadong maraming kinakain na fats na galing sa na saturated fatty acid, actually can lead to heart attack. Kasi nga basically solid na 'to, eh. Hindi na 'to maano, hindi yan magiging flexible, when it comes to it being a molecule. Kaya nga, yung mga saturated fatty acids natin ay yung mga fats coming from animal sources. So kung makikita, nung nagprito ka, itilong ganisa, tapos sinave mo, DJ, oil nga na-produce, tapos in-store mo in room temperature, eventually, magiging solid yan. Kasi nga, it is saturated na. Hindi yan, ano, hindi yan ma-dissolve with that temperature. Nagiging solid talaga. Okay? Sa unsaturated fatty acid kasi, since merong mga gaps in between yung mga uh, gaps on the structure of the molecule, it can be flexible enough na like for example sa mga virgin coconut oil, yung legit na virgin coconut oil na galing sa plant, actually, kaya nga sa unsaturated fatty acid galing sa plant sources and then sa saturated fatty acid animal sources. Kahit in-store mo yung virgin coconut oil sa room temperature, hindi yan magsosolidify. Kasi nga because of the flexibility when it comes to the molecule niya. Okay? Ganun. Ganun yung natin when it comes to that. Yung palagi kong iniisip sa saturated fatty acid, although di ko sure kung totoo, um, sa heart attack kasi parang nabla-block yung arteries. Yung saturated fatty acid, di ba, nagiging solid. So, pagkain ka ng kain ng madaming fat galing sa animals, so nai-store yung mga fat na yun, nagiging solid. It can lead to heart attack. Parang ganun yung palagi kong iniisip. Kaya, nadi-distinguish ko which is healthier. Yung yung saturated fatty acid ba or your unsaturated fatty acid. Okay, so ito rin, ito yung parang, anong tawag nito? Comparison between saturated fats and unsaturated fats natin. So again, yung blue, that will be your saturated fats, and then yung green, that will be your unsaturated fat. So for saturated fat, has only only single bonds. Sa unsaturated, can have single bonds and double bonds. It cannot be subdivided into subcategories na yung saturated fats. Pero sa unsaturated fat kasi, it can be subdivided into monounsaturated, yung isang ganun lang na molecule, and then polyunsaturated, yung madami na yung nakakonect na unsaturated fat. So, ito yung sinasabi ko, sa saturated fat, have a solid consistency at room temperature. Pag sa unsaturated, have a liquid consistency at room temperature. Then, saturated fat, galing yan mostly sa mga animal sources. Yung unsaturated fat, galing yan sa mga plant-derived fats natin. Okay? So, sa saturated fat again, they are not susceptible to further oxidation and rancidity when exposed to the atmosphere. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Walang oxidation na mangyayari that can cause rancidity Kasi nga, nasaturate na lahat. Wala nang, kumbaga, pag-a-attachan ng oxygen para ma-oxidize, kumbaga. Sa unsaturated fat, susceptible to further oxidation and rancidity when exposed to the atmosphere. Kasi nga, anong tawag dito? Merong mga gaps in between the molecule. Then, high amount of saturated fat can be harmful to health. Yan, that is for saturated fat. And then, unsaturated fat are associated with various health benefits. So, alam na ninyo kung ano yung pagkakaiba ng ating mga saturated and unsaturated fats. Okay? So, yan. Then, for the classes of nutrients, again, sa protein naman tayo, yung sinasabi ko, um, it is composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So, makikita dyan yung 16% na sinasabi ko kanina for the 6.25, kaya nakuha yung value na 6.25. So, laging tatandaan niya na 6.25 saan galing sa 16% na nitrogen na usually it is the average na nitrogen content ng protein. So, proteins are the principal constituent of the organ and soft structure of animal body. Without these, wala ka nung muscles, mga ganon. Hindi ka mag-grow properly. So, dietary requirement is highest in the young growing animals and decline gradually to maturity. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, madami daw dapat na crude protein or protein yung na kinakain ng young mga na animals compared sa older animals. Bakit? Bakit ba? It is something to do again with what I call as the what we call as the S growth curve. Yung pa ganun na na growth curve ng animal. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, pag young kasi exponential yung growth, pataas talaga. Walang mga walang 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 mga up and down. Exponential pataas. Okay? And yung pagtaas talaga ng growth rate niya, talagang sharp. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin nito, since protein is associated with growth, pag young yung animal and you have a growth rate like this, na pataas talaga, you need a lot of protein. That is why it is suggested or kahit tignan ninyo sa mga commercial feeds, mas mataas talaga yung protein content ng mga booster, ng mga starter compared sa finisher. Okay? Pero again, as you grow older, yan yung growth rate ng young, tapos biglang nag-plateau. Hindi naman yung sharp na pababa ulit. Biglang nag-plateau. Bakit ba biglang nag-plateau? Kasi nga dyan yung part na hindi na nag-grow masyado. Nag-grow pa rin yung animal pero hindi na siya exponentially. Hindi na siya yung talagang grabe yung paglaki. um, hindi naman katamtaman. Slow na yung growth rate. Kaya nagiging plateau na. Pag ganun na. Parang ganyan na yung ano natin, yung growth curve natin. Okay? So in this part, since hindi na masyado ramdam yung growth, hindi mo na siya masyado kailangan. Hindi na kailangan masyado ng protein with this. Kailangan mo pa rin actually, pero hindi na siya ganun kataas, ka-demanding na compared dito sa growth stage natin nung bata pa siya. Okay? Growth rate natin nung bata pa siya. Okay? So, yan. Ngayon, proteins are large molecules. Laging tatandaan yan. They are large molecules, complicated molecules, meron pang tertiary structure kung kunahan ng tupay. So, hindi siya ma-absorb. Hindi siya ma-absorb kagad-agad ng body ng animal. So, all proteins have one common property. Their basic structure is made up of a single unit of amino acid. So, yan yung protein structure natin. Wait, titignan natin. So, basta laging tatandaan pag tinanong kayo, ano yung basic na structure that is made up of single unit sa protein natin? Kung ano nga dyan, amino acid. Okay? So, yan yung structure niya. Makikita. So, quaternary structure, may quaternary structure pa pala. So, aggregates na ng mga polypeptide chains. Ito yung tertiary structure, polypeptide chain. And then, ito yung secondary structure. Meron parang 3D, three-dimensional helix. And then, yung primary structure, ito. Okay? From this, itong mga kulay blue, colored balls na ito, these are your amino acid and they are held together by a peptide bond. Through digestion, yung tinatanggal talaga is yung peptide bonds na nandito. Itong nagbaband dito sa mga molecules na to. Tinatanggal yan para ma-free up yung amino acid. Para yung amino acid mismo, yung i-absorb and i-metabolize eventually ng body ng animal. Okay? So, pero yung sinabi na complex structure kasi nga quaternary structure kung titignan, di yan ma-absorb. Ang daming ano pa yan. Lukot-lukot pa yan kumbaga. So, sa proteins natin, meron tayong 22 amino acids that are commonly found in proteins. And they are linked together, yung sinabi ko kanina, together by peptide bonds. Laging tatandaan yung 22 na value. 22 amino acids. Pero 10 lang dyan, M, T, T, V, A, L, P, H, I, L. Yan, 10. 10 na ano lang, yung essential amino acid. So, mamaya ma-discuss natin bakit ba tinawag na essential amino acid? Bakit ba tinawag na non-essential amino acids? And are they important? Non-essential na nga. Are they important sa body ng animal? Mamaya ma-discuss natin. Okay? Pero again, 22 amino acids. So, ito yung mga protein terminologies natin. Padaanan lang natin. Pag sinabing true protein, it is composed of amino acids na. Yan yung true protein talaga. Hindi siya crude protein. So, kung gusto mo talaga na ito yung protein content, yung totoong protein content, then you look into the amino acids. Then, non-protein nitrogen, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, these are compounds that are not true proteins in nature. Pero bakit sinabing uh, non-protein nitrogen? Because they, just like that of the protein, can be a source of nitrogen, pero hindi nga sila protein, kaya nga non-protein. Okay, so yan. And then pag sinabi naman crude protein, composed of true protein and yung mga nitrogenous products natin. Ano yung mga nitrogenous products natin? Ito yung mga non-protein nitrogen natin. Kaya nga tinawag again na crude kasi nga lahatan, lahat na, ina-account lahat. Okay? So, percent nitrogen times 6.25, laging tatandaan yan. Okay, malipatan nyo, aminin, you need to remember yung 6.25 na yan. And yung 2.25 sa fats. Okay? So, yan. And then, essential amino acids, basically, these are the amino acids which are essential to the animal and must be applied in the diet because the animals cannot synthesize them fast enough to meet its requirement. Okay? So, bakit natawag na essential sila? Kasi nga, actually, lahat naman ng amino acid essential. Important yan. Pero itong mga essential amino acids kasi, hindi na pro-produce ng body ng animal fast enough para masupplyan yung body ng animal. Okay? Hindi yan na-produce fast enough. Kaya tinawag na essential kasi kailangan mo siyang isupply sa diet niya para makuha ng animal. Kasi nga, again, hindi kayang isupply mismo ng animal. Hindi kayang ibuo mismo fast enough ng animal yung mga essential amino acids natin. Sa non-essential amino acids kasi, kaya yung sinabi ko, importante ba yung non-essential amino acids? Importante pa rin. Okay? You need that in order to create yung mga proteins mo. Ang ano lang sa non-essential amino acids, they are created or produced by the body of the animal fast enough that you do not need to supply them in their diet. Kaya non-essential na sila kasi pinoproduce na nung body ng animal in the amount na hindi na siya nagkukulang kumbaga. Sa essential amino acid kasi hindi na produce, kulang yung na-produce na amino acids. Okay? So please laging tatandaan yung difference. Hindi ibig sabihin na sinabing non-essential amino acid is pwede mo nang tanggalin. I-set aside na. Hindi. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin lang ng non-essential na produce in the body of the animal kaya hindi mo na siya need na i-supply. Okay? So, yan. And then these are your classes of these are your essential amino acid. Okay? So, paano ba? Madaming mga way in order to in order to memorize this. And please memorize all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, yan, 10. So, yung ano ko noon, private team hall, PVT TIMHALL or MTT Valpil, depende na sa'yo, pero yan, kabesam. Wala nang discussion dyan. Hindi ko na i-discuss kung ano yung mga yan. Kasi di ko rin naman alam yung mga sa molecular level na. Pero yan, please discuss, please memorize all of that. Okay? Okay, so to continue with the discussion natin. So like what I've said, um, we have yung essential amino acids which are usually again it is not synthesized enough in the body of the animal, fast enough in the body of the animal, so that we need to actually supplement them. So, kailangan na ibigay natin as a supplement yung mga essential amino acids natin. Kaya nga sila tinawag na essential kasi pag hindi mo sinupplement, um, magiging deficient sila. Okay? Pero again, yung sinabi ko, when it comes to essential and non-essential amino acids, they are basically important pa rin. They are both important, pero sa non-essential nga kasi, yung mga non-essential amino acids natin, these are yung mga amino acids that are still essential to the animal or important to the animal but are normally synthesized or sufficient in the diet and need not be supplemented. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, it can be synthesized or it can be produced by the body of the animal fast enough that you do not need to supplement them. Pero again, hindi porket sinabi na non-essential is um, hindi na siya importante. All of these amino acids, kailangan yan kasi nga they are the building blocks ng proteins natin. Okay, so please um, eh, remember yung mga terminologies na yan. So we have here the non-essential amino acids naman. So sa essential amino acids, you have your MTT-12 pill. But in this case, yung mga non-essential amino acids natin, ito yung mga yan. So if you have memorized the essential amino acids, all of the amino acids that are not in the list will automatically be the non-essential amino acids. Okay, so I guess no need to memorize this. Memorize this. So kung ano man yung nasa ano na sa essential amino acids, kung wala doon, edi matik na non-essential amino acids. Okay? So, yan. Then we have here protein quality. When we say protein quality, it refers to the amount and ratio of essential amino acids present in the protein. So basically, if mas madami yung amino acids, essential amino acids that are in the protein, then mas maganda yung quality. So kung konti lang yung mga essential amino acids that are in the that is uh, will make the protein, then mas mababa yung quality ng protein. So, this is important kasi para ma-distinguish yung mga high quality proteins, low quality proteins, and at the same time, alam mo kung ano yung iso-supplement mo doon sa um, alam mo kung gaano ka nutritious kumbaga yung ibibigay mo na feedstuff doon sa animal. Okay? So, yan. Okay, so na doble lang yung slide. So, again, yan yung to reiterate kung ano yung function ng ating protein, they are the basic structural unit of the animal body. Based on more or less lahat ng mga structural parts ng body natin. Like for example, collagen, elastin, contractile protein, keratin proteins, blood proteins. These are all made of ng ating protein. So, aside from that, it is also used or it is an integral part or important part ng mga enzymes, hormones, immune antibodies, hereditary transmissions, All of it may protein yan. So it is a part sa body metabolism natin. Then aside from that, pag merong deficiency ng ating mga protein, since sinabi ko kanina is integral part ng my structure natin and basically growth. So it can reduce the growth rate and feed deficiency, and it can lead to anorexia, it can lead to infertility if deficient sa protein. So aside from that, if you are deficient sa amino acid, then there is uh, it can result to deamination. A lack of an important amino acid can result to a deamination. Okay? So yan yung mga ano natin when it comes to protein. Okay, so now we go sa mga organic, as is still a part of the basically organic part ng ating feedstuff, which is yung fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins, or in general yung mga vitamins natin. Okay, so for the fat-soluble vitamins, just remember yung ADEK. So that's vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and then vitamin K. So, more or less, when it comes to fat soluble vitamins, they are associated with fat during digestion and absorption. Kasi nga, again, they are fat soluble. So, pag merong sufficient amount ng fat soluble vitamins in the body, and it is stored in the liver and in the adipose tissue. So, yan, nai-store yan kasi they are fat soluble. Pero again, please be careful, especially when it comes to supplementing mga fat soluble vitamins natin. They can be toxic if in excess yung pagbibigay. Kasi nga, hindi siya tulad ng water soluble vitamins that it can be readily excreted through urine. Yung mga fat soluble vitamins kasi natin, if it is pag marami, it is sufficient, and may mga extra kumbaga na fat soluble vitamins na i-store yan sa liver and adipose tissue. So kung masyadong marami yung nai-store naman, then it can lead to toxicity. Okay? Then because of that, there is no daily need for fat soluble vitamins again because they can be stored sa ating mga liver and adipose tissue. So which also can lead to a very slow na parang pag-manifest ng deficiency as or more or less wala kasi nga again readily available na siya kasi naka-store na siya dun sa liver and adipose tissue. As long as you regularly or the animal will regularly ingest intake fat-soluble vitamins, hindi yan mawawalan. Okay? For in the case ng ating water-soluble vitamins, like for example yung mga B-complex, vitamin C, the excess is not stored kasi nga it is water soluble, so it can be passed through sa urine or it is excreted through the urine. No storage again and less toxic kasi parang um, anong tawag nito, na-excrete regularly every day. Kaya nga pag nag-take ka ng vitamins, like for example yung mga B-complex na vitamins natin, nagiging kulay orange yung ihi or yung urine. That is primarily or a part of it is because of the vitamins, yung water-soluble vitamins. Okay? Um, with the exception ng B12 natin, yung vitamin B12 na water-soluble vitamins natin, vitamin natin. So, you need daily requirement for that. Um, for all of the vitamins with the exception ng vitamin B12 natin. And then, ano ba yung importance ng mga to? They are cofactor in a lot of biochemical reactions sa body natin. And because they are excreted regularly or every day, then deficiency is fast for water-soluble vitamins. So, this can serve as a guide kung ano yung mga vitamin supplementation pwede mong ibigay sa animal. So, as long as you regularly by 2 months, mga ganun, have multivitamin supplementation, um, okay siya sa vitamin addict. Hindi siya magiging deficient sa vitamin addict. So, kung meron mang mag-manifest na disease and suspect mo it is because of yung yung disease is because parang metabolic disease siya, look into the deficiencies ng water-soluble vitamins. Baka nandun yung symptoms na hinahanap mo. And then you can supplement it or you can give the animal yung deficient na vitamin. So, ganun. It can serve as a guide, kumbaga. Yan, yung mga ano natin, sa vitamins natin, you have here in the second um, column, you have the function, the third, the deficiency, and then the fourth, the excess. So, ito yung parang technical terms ng mga vitamin addict natin. So, kung titignan sa vitamin A natin, that's retinol, main function niya will be on the vision. So, if you have deficiency or the animal have deficiency on this, yeah, it can lead to impaired growth and blindness. And if meron namang excess, again, tulad nga ng sinabi ko, it can be toxic to the animal. It can also lead to skeletal abnormalities and skin thickening. So, yan yung vitamin A. For vitamin D, we have your D2 and D3. Laging tatandaan, merong dalawang type. You have your ergocalciferol, that's for D2, and then cholecalciferol for D3. So, ang function naman ng vitamin D is for calcium absorption. So, pag deficient sa vitamin D, it can lead to rickets. Usually, nagmamanifest sa mga younger animals, laging tatandaan. And then for the osteomalacia, which can manifest sa older animals. So, if there is an excess naman itong vitamin D natin, then there is abnormal calcium deposition in the soft tissue. Kasi nga, yung function niya is for calcium absorption. So kung masyadong madami, then it can lead to spike sa calcium deposition doon sa soft tissue. Remember, lahat naman ng masyadong madami is it can lead to toxicity. Then for vitamin E, you have your tocopherol. So kung makikita sa mga sa mga anong tawag nito, sa mga um, commercial. Like for example, yung mga commercial ng Myra E, antioxidant, sabing ganun. So, yun talaga yung function ng vitamin E. So, pag deficient sa vitamin E, it can lead to white muscle disease, crazy chick disease, and for excess, it can be non-toxic kasi vitamin E, antioxidant naman. And then vitamin K, menaquinone. So, function niya is for blood clotting. So, deficiency can lead to hemorrhages. Uh, pero it is rare na magkaka-deficient ka sa vitamin K kasi microbes synthesize or magkaka-deficient ng vitamin K yung mga animals natin because microbes synthesize vitamin K in the gut, especially sa mga ruminants natin. So, excess, non-toxic. Okay, so yan. Yan yung ating vitamin fat-soluble vitamins. Then we have here the B complex. So yan, B1 thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, B5 pantothenic acid, B6 pyridoxine, B7 biotin, B9 folate, B12 cobalamin, and then yung vitamin C or your ascorbic acid. So please take note of all the more technical term ng mga vitamins natin. So, again, just like the fat-soluble vitamins natin, they are also a component of coenzymes. And laging tatandaan tong part na to. Ruminants can synthesize this all, but this should be supplied in the diet of calves since yung mga calves natin hindi pa ganun ka-develop yung kanilang rumen or their digestive system na hindi pa nila kaya talaga na supplyan or makaproduce ng vitamin D. Pero laging tatandaan, yung mga ruminants kasi natin, they can produce itong mga vitamin D complex natin. Walang masyadong hindi masyadong kailangan na i-supplement. Pero again, kailangan pa regular supplementation pa rin yung kailangan. Pero hindi yung parang frequent na. Kaya if merong mga metabolic diseases na umuusbong sa mga ruminants natin, especially if alam mong hindi siya bacterial or hindi siya viral, baka mineral deficiency or fat soluble na vitamin na deficient yung animal. So, hindi siya ganun, hindi na masyadong nagmamanifest yung mga deficiencies sa vitamin B sa mga ruminants natin kasi nga they can synthesize. So, pero sa mga monogastric natin, like for example, pigs, it should be supplied with. Okay? So, yan. Pero to be safe, hindi lang pag nagsusupplement ka na, kahit anong animal pa yan, livestock or as a ruminant or sa baboy man yan, yung, just supplement it with tawag nila, multivitamins, yung merong addict na at saka B-complex para safe ka na. Okay? Pero again, remember, masyadong marami yung vitamin A, it can still lead to toxicity. Masyadong marami yung fat-soluble vitamins, it can still lead to toxicity, especially vitamin A. Okay? So, yan. Okay, so ito naman yung mga vitamins natin and their function and deficiencies. So sa vitamin B1, that's for oxidation, decarboxylation reactions. Um, Polyneuritis yung deficiency niya if deficient sa vitamin B1. For vitamin B2, it functions as a coenzyme in metabolism. And if it is deficient, yung animal can lead to skin lesions, curled toe paralysis. Vitamin B3 functions for hydrogen transfer. If it is deficient, pellagra, goose stepping, B5, fatty acid metabolism, and then it can lead to black tongue disease if it is deficient. For B6, that is amino acid metabolism and heme synthesis. So it can also lead to goose stepping, and then B7, fatty acid synthesis, dermatitis and hair loss if it is deficient. And then B9 functions for DNA synthesis, B12 for metabolism, and then yung deficiency niya is anemia. Okay, so yan. Yan yung mga ano natin. So, um, anong tawag nito? Madami kasi, like for example, itong mga iba pa, dermatitis or hair loss, anemia, it is not like primarily because or purely because of vitamins yung kung bakit nagmamanifest ng mga diseases na to. It can also be mineral deficiency, can also be because of ang tawag nito, baka meron secondary na symptom na yung bacterial disease na yun or viral disease na yun, kaya ganyan na yung nakikita. So, um, an advice here is you need to first cross out if it is caused by bacteria, if it is caused by virus, and then you look into the vitamin deficiencies na and mineral deficiencies. Pero yan yung mga nagmamanifest na diseases when it comes to deficiency ng mga vitamin B complex natin. Okay? And then we have minerals. So when we say minerals naman, this is now part of the uh, inorganic part na ng ating feedstuff. So tulad ng sinabi ko, yung proximate analysis para ma-compute or you have a value for the mineral content, you have the ash. So it is the total mineral content of plants or animals. So classification, it can be a major mineral or a trace mineral. So, yung again, pag sinabing major mineral, ito yung mga macro minerals natin. Pag sinabing trace naman, ito yung mga micro minerals natin. Pero again, hindi porket sinabi na macro, hindi porket sinabi na micro, or hindi porket sinabi na major or trace, eh hindi na sila importante sa or magkaiba na yung degree ng importance. So parehas pa rin na importante itong mga uh, major minerals and trace minerals natin. Okay? Pero again, it has something to do in like mas madami yung kailangan for the major kaya macro minerals, and then mas konti lang yung kailangan sa micro minerals. Pero both if they are deficient sa body ng animal, it can still lead to metabolic diseases. It can still lead to it can manifest as a disease pa rin. Okay? So, it is important pa rin na supplement it in the um, in the diet of the animal. Okay, so yan yung mga classes of nutrients natin, from the carbohydrates to the from the water to the carbohydrates to the protein to the fats, vitamins and minerals. So I hope that as you go on, please review or read more kasi hindi natin talaga ma-discuss lahat-lahat, and baka may mga hindi ako na-discuss na lalabas. So, I will try my best to provide you with references na that you can read, that you can review on the classes of nutrients natin. Pero I hope na I've covered most of the like essential parts ng mga classes of nutrients natin. Okay? So, yan. Here we have yung mga ano natin, mga different feedstuff natin. Pero hindi ko alam kung bakit nandito. So, it's part of the discussion natin, classification ng feedstuff, pero meron pa sana akong i-discuss. Anyway, you have your cereals, you have your cracked corn, corn grits, barley grain, rough rice, mini byproducts, corn bran with pollard. These are more or less your concentrates. Okay, mababa yung ano nila, mga fiber, crude fiber nila. Anyway, di ko alam kung nandun yun, baka hindi ko na-edit, pero to further discuss sa ano muna, sa mga nutrients natin, I will be discussing yung digestion process as well as yung absorption process, kumbaga, ng mga ano natin, mga animals natin. Ngayon, ang ano nito, hindi parehas yung digestion process ng yung pag-digest ng mga nutrients ng mga ruminants natin when you compare it doon sa mga monogastric animals natin. So, because of their differences in the physiology ng kanilang digestive system, magkaiba din yung kung paano nila i-digest yung mga nutrients natin. Okay? So, like for example, sa ating mga ruminants, you have here the rumen, reticulum, liver, umasum, abomasum, small intestine. Yan yung parang distinguishing feature naman ng mga ruminants. Meron silang rumen, reticulum, umasum, abomasum. Okay? So, like for example, for the non-protein nitrogen natin, pag pumasok sila sa ating rumen, it is converted by the microbes that are living in the rumen into microbial protein. Kaya nga essential pa rin yung non-protein nitrogen natin because they can convert it into microbial protein. Okay? Ngayon, yung microbial protein na yon, it is used actually by the microbes for their growth and proliferation. Hindi siya directly na gumawa na ng microbes ng microbial protein, ibibigay mo na doon sa animal, doon sa host, kumbaga, doon sa, like for example, doon sa goat or sa sheep. Hindi, kasi nga, these are still living organism and they need to live. Kaya nga, yung mga kinakain mo na nutrients, yung kinakain ng ruminant na nutrients, um, may kino-convert yung mga microbes na yan for their own good. Para sa kanila yan, kumbaga. Kaya nga tinawag na microbial protein. Ngayon, yung problema dyan, since hindi directly kay ano, dapat ma-flush out pa yan. Hindi directly kay ruminant, dapat ma-flush out. So, pag ano yan, basically parang namatay. Hindi na namatay, pero ma-flush out kasi yung microbes with the microbial protein papunta dito sa abomasum. So, nandito na yung sa abomasum, yung microbial protein. And then, basically, it will start the process of digestion. Parehas lang sila na, parang parehas na sila nung, ng, ang tawag nito, ng mga monogastrics natin when it comes to digestion ng protein. Kasi again, yung abomasum is the true protein at true stomach ng mga ruminants natin. Dito yung merong mga glands, dito din nagigising yung ating mga pepsin. So, after that, it will be broken down. Yung protein na yon hindi pa siya ready for absorption. So, na-digest pa siya, then eventually pupunta yan sa small intestine wherein a lot of digestive enzymes again coming from the pancreas will digest yung ating ano. Anyway, makikita yung in the next slides yung mga ano natin, mga enzymes natin. Pero yan. So, sa small intestine naman, it will be further broken down into its simplest form, which is amino acid. And then after that, it can be absorbed by the body of the animal. So, ganun yung mangyayari for the non-protein nitrogen. Okay? Now, for the feed proteins naman natin, we have two type ng feed proteins. You have your RDP and RUDP sana to. Um, Ay, di. RDP na dalawa pala. So, you have yung Roman degradable protein and Roman undegradable protein. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Pag sinabing Roman degradable protein, basically, it is degraded or it can be digested in the protein. Pag sinabing Roman undegradable protein, it can bypass or it is it will bypass the protein, the Roman microbes doon sa Roman natin. Okay? Binabypass yan either because meron siyang compound na nakapalibot mismo sa protein na hindi kayang i-penetrate kumbaga ng microbes, ng mga enzymes na pinoproduce ng microbes. Kaya nababypass niya yung digestion doon sa rumen and sa reticulum. Kaya nga rumen undegradable protein. Pero sa rumen lang, it can still be digested doon sa bumasog. Okay? So, first, let's go dito sa rumen degradable protein. It can be again converted, it will be converted again into microbial protein and it will have the same fate again. Mapupunta pa rin yan sa ating sa abomasum wherein it will be further broken down into peptides and then it sa small intestine it will be digested into amino acids. So parehas sila ng pathway kumbaga, paganon pa rin. Okay? Um, ano lang, pagkakaibahan lang, um, it is coming from feed proteins. Yung isa, coming from the non-protein nitrogen. Pero again, they are first digested sa rumen reticulum part natin because of the microbes that are in there. That are secreting enzymes, protease, that will break down yung protein natin. Okay? Then, meron din yung RDPs natin that are converted into our volatile fatty acid. Itong part na to. Sa rumen pa rin. Okay? Yung mga volatile fatty acids natin, acetic, butyric, propionic acids. So, um, pupunta sila sa liver, especially kung hindi ako, correct me if I'm wrong, propionic acid, pupunta sa liver and then um, magiging glucose and then it can be used na for metabolism. Okay? So, yan. Or pwedeng pupunta sa umasog, absorb sa umasog, and then eventually into the, um, anong tawag nito? It can still be converted again into glucose. Okay? Pero yung glucose na yon, it will undergo na yung process of respiration, glycolysis, um, gluconeogenesis, mga ganun. Basta yung end product na nitong glucose na to is yung ating energy or ATP. So, yan. Yan yung Roman degradable protein natin. Ngayon, for Roman undegradable protein, since yung sinabi ko, it cannot be digested sa rumen natin, it will bypass rumen. Hindi siya yung bypass na ano na i-skip niya, nga lumagto. Hindi. Dadaan pa rin yan sa rumen reticulum, umasog, pero walang mangyayari. Kasi nga, again, rumen undegradable protein. So, it will go to the abomasum, wherein same fate nung dalawang na-discuss na nauna. Yung rumen undegradable protein na yon, it will be broken down into peptides and then sa small intestine, it will be again uh, broken down by the enzymes in the small intestine into its simplest form, amino acids, and then eventually it will be absorbed. Okay? So, yan yung mangyayari for the feed proteins natin. So, yan. And then for the carbohydrates natin, you have your semi-cellulose, semicellulose, starches and sugars, all will be converted or broken down into glucose sa rumen natin, sa rumen reticulum natin. Okay? And then eventually it will be converted into volatile fatty acids, and then it will be absorbed into the um, anong tawag dito? VFA. It will be absorbed into the umasome, and then um, basically it will be converted into glucose natin sa liver. So, yan. Yan yung ating um, anong tawag dito? Some absorption lang ng mga VFAs natin. Pero again, um, tawag dito? More or less kasi, majority of the carbohydrates are digested and absorbed um, sa umasome natin, or even in the rumen wall. So, as volatile fatty acids na, nako-convert na into volatile fatty acids. So, konti lang kasi yung napupunta dito sa small intestine for digestion na. Konti na lang, kumbaga. So, majority of the carbohydrates are digested and converted dito sa rumen reticulum natin na part. Then, for the fats natin, since these are insoluble in water, diretso sila sa small intestine wherein um, you have your fatty acids and glycerols na parang end product na kumbaga. Pero it will undergo what we call as the emulsification. So it needs yung bile na galing sa liver, uh, na stored ng liver para to um, para simulan yung emulsification process. Yung emulsification process para lang ma-digest properly yung ating and ma-absorb properly itong mga fats natin. Okay, so yan, digestive process. An overview of the digestive process ng ating um, ruminants. So because of that, you have here the different glands, the principal components and their function. So sa saliva, you have your salivary amylase. So yung amylase na yan, it will act on the starch and split it into dextrin and maltose. So yung kinain ng carbohydrates, kasi nga amylase, this salivary amylase is an enzyme. So, ini-split niya yung starch na kinain ng animal into dextrin and maltose. Then, on the gastric gland, basically sa stomach, sa true stomach nila, meron tayo nitong pepsin. So, ano yung pepsin? It will degrade protein into smaller units called peptides. So, si pepsin yon. Pero meron siyang natutulog na parang form, which is called pepsinogen. Ano ba yung pepsinogen? Yung pepsinogen, again, yung sinabi ko nga, natutulog na inactive na pepsin, kumbaga yung pepsinogen. And ang way para magising si pepsinogen is through the hydrochloric acid na nasisecrete doon sa stomach. Okay? Kung ano mang stomach yan, if it is in ruminants, you have the abomasum. If it is in the poultry species natin, like for example chicken, you have your um, proventriculus. So, lahat sila, kasi tinawag silang true stomach kasi meron silang gland that will secrete hydrochloric acid and will wake up that pepsinogen and be converted into pepsin. Para sa ganun, yung pepsin na yon, it will degrade yung protein into smaller units called peptides. Okay, so yan. And then you have yun nga yung sinasabi ko, hydrochloric acid stops the action of the salivary amylase and allows the pepsin to work. So by converting pepsinogen to pepsin. Then it also kills microorganisms because it is an acid, hydrochloric acid. So aside from that, you also have renin. Ano yung renin? It is a protein digesting enzyme that curdles milk. Ano ba yung curdles milk? This is especially important sa mga young animals kasi if yung milk na yon is too fast na mag-travel doon sa digestive system ng animal, hindi na
hindi na-absorb properly, hindi na-digest properly, kumbaga, it can lead to diarrhea. So, yung pag-curdle ng milk, it will slow down yung, kumbaga, yung pag-travel ng milk in order for it to be digested properly and in order for it to be absorbed properly. So, yan yung renin natin. Then, yung bile juice from the liver, or you have it can neutralize the acidity of the chyme and stop action of the pepsin na and allows action of the intestinal enzymes. Aside from that, it can also emulsify yung fat mo. Okay? So, aside from that, we also have what doon sa pancreas, you have yung pancreatic lipase. Lipase meaning it will break down or digest fats natin. Kasi nga lipids, lipase. Okay? So ano yung mga enzymes natin sa pancreas na sinisikrete ng pancreas, kumbaga you have your trypsin, chymotrypsin. So anong gagawin nito? They digest or breaks down protein into amino acids, pero kailangan mo ng enterokinase. Ano yung enterokinase? Ito yung digestive enzyme from the duodenum or from the small intestine that will activate yung trypsinogen into trypsin. Para yung trypsinogen again is the inactive form and yung trypsin is yung active form. Okay? So yan. So it will break down the protein into amino acid, yung trypsin natin. Then you also have peptidases, peptides, so meaning it will split amino acids into yung individual na amino acids. Maltase naman, split maltose into glucose. Yung sucrase natin, it will split sucrose into glucose and fructose. And then yung lactase natin, it will split lactose into glucose and galactose. So all of these are enzymes from the duodenum or sa duodenal gland. Okay, so yeah. And then, I guess yan, uh, sa digestion kasi ng, yung sinabi kong digestion ng ating, digestion process ng ating ruminant, ang ano lang doon, ang pagkakaiba lang doon, basically, pagkakaiba lang doon sa ating mga monogastric or non-ruminant is that walang rumen ng mga non-ruminant. So you can entirely say na you can block off yung rumen part na yon, and then parang ganun din yung digestive process sa monogastric natin. So like for example sa protein natin, block off mo na lang yung mga rumen, umasom, So pag digestion ng protein yung pinag-uusapan sa monogastric, magi-start yan sa stomach na. Okay? Doon sa true stomach or sa stomach mismo ng monogastric. So parehas lang sila nung abumasom na kasi nga they are both true stomach. So meaning sa monogastric natin, magi-start sa stomach wherein pepsinogen will be converted into pepsin, and then that pepsin will then start the process of digestion sa ating protein. Um, Basically, it will convert it into peptides, and then yung peptides na yon, it will then be further broken down sa small intestine by the aid of the trypsins um, to, anong tawag nito? To split or to digest na yung mga peptides na yon and other proteins into its smallest form, which is yung amino acid. Okay, so ganon yung mangyayari. Then for the carbohydrate, it will start again, some of the digestion will start sa monogastric to, some of the digestion will start sa mouth because of the salivary amylase, pero majority of the digestion kasi ng carbohydrate will happen in the small intestine. Okay, so yan. So meaning, for carbohydrate, majority of the digestion ng carbohydrate sa ruminant will happen in the rumen, while majority of the digestion ng carbohydrates sa monogastric will happen in the small intestine. Okay, so yan. Yan yung digestion and absorption part. So now we go, madalian lang sa ating feedstuff na. Ito dapat yung kasali doon sa naligaw na slide. So ito yung pagkakaiba ng roughages and concentrates natin. So pag sinabing dry matter percentage, for dry fodder na roughage, that's around 90%. For green fodder, that's around 10 to 15%. So medyo mababa since it is fresh. So madaming moisture content kasi. For concentrate, dry matter percentage of around 90%. So meron pa rin 10% na moisture. For the crude fiber, laging tatandaan to, if it is the feedstuff is considered as a roughage if it is more than 18% CF, na meron siyang more than 18% crude fiber, and it is considered as a concentrate if it is less than 18% crude fiber. For the digestibility part, roughages comparatively less, while for concentrate mataas. This is because when it comes to roughages, meron silang indigestible part. You have your cell wall, you have your hemicellulose, cellulose, lignin, that basically it is hard for, especially for monogastric animals to digest. For the concentrate part, through process, like, hindi siya, since mas mababa yung crude fiber content niya, mas mataas yung digestibility. Okay? And then nutritive value per unit mass, it is low for roughages and it is high in concentrate. So imagine 1 kilogram of roughage and then 1 kilogram of concentrate, mas mataas talaga yung nutritive value per unit mass ng ating concentrate compared doon sa ating roughages, just because of the um, crude fiber content on it, and that influences yung digestibility. Aside from that, pag sa kasi sa dry matter content, especially if it is green fodder, medyo mas mababa. Okay? Kaya nutritive value per unit mass, mas mababa sa roughages compared sa concentrate. For the nature, mas bulky since mas mataas yung crude fiber content ng ating roughages and mas compact sa concentrates natin. So for keeping quality, dry fodder high kasi nga wala na masyadong moisture content, and less for green fodder, but for concentrate high yung keeping quality. So that's the differences between roughages and concentrates. Now we have here parang um, organizational chart ng ating feedstuff. So, yung feedstuff natin, again, it is broken down into roughages and concentrates. First, let's go sa ating roughages. It can be further broken down into succulent and dry roughages. Pag sinabing succulent, ito yung mga legumes and non-legume parts natin. As long as, more or less, pag succulent kasi, medyo mataas yung moisture content. Pag sinabing dry, ito yung mga ito yung mga crop residues natin. Then for concentrates, you have your energy source, protein source, and some other sources, pero more or less sa energy source and protein source natin. So pag sinabing energy source, mataas yung energy content. So mataas yung metabolizable energy. So you have your cereal, you have your milling byproducts, like for example, corn bran, rice bran, mga ganun. And then you have your animals and vegetable fats. So all of these our energy source natin for our concentrates. For protein sources natin, you have your animal origin, uh, concentrates natin na mataas yung protein coming from mga animals natin, like for example, bone meal, blood meal, mga ganon. And then you have your plant origin, basically yung unang iisipin dapat ninyo when it comes to protein source na concentrate, na coming from plant origin will be your soybean meal kasi mataas yung content. Protein content, crude protein content ng ating soybean meal, it is comparable to that of the crude protein content ng mga animal natin. Kaya nga, popular si soybean meal as a feed ingredient when it comes to formulating yung mga commercial feeds natin, because one, it has comparable high crude protein content just like that of animal protein, pero wala siya nung parang drawback coming from animal origins, like for example yung mababa na merong disease yung plant natin kasi aside from that mababa din na yung rancidity, yung amoy din, mga ganun. So, hindi ganun yung mga soybean natin. Aside from that, it is cheaper. It is a cheaper alternative compared dun sa mga protein sources natin coming from animals. Then, for the others natin under concentrate, you have your mineral sources, vitamin sources natin na supplements, as well as yung mga feed additives natin. So, yan. Yan yung ating parang chart. Yan, naduble lang. So, ito, yung mga non-legumes natin, some, Panigo maximum, Dicanthum aristatum, mga ganyan. So, is it a ravage? Is it a concentrate? Alam dapat na ninyo, that's ravage. You have your legion parts. Yan. You have glycine max, yung kasena nyo sa pala, yan yung ipil-ipil ninyo. And then you have your non-legions. Ito naman yung mga non-legions natin. Zeame, sorghum bicolor, Avena sativa. Then, aside from that, Saccharomyces officinarum, Penicetum purpureum, and then Triticum aestivum. So, yan. Then, aside from that, yung mga yan, may Maniot esculenta, Hordeum vulgare, Taracantia gigantea, those are your non-legion parts. Crop residues naman, pwedeng rice straw, corn stover, sugarcane, bagasse. So, pag sinabing crop residue, nakuha mo na yung main crop or main part ng crop and then what's left of it will be the residues. So, yan. Na pwedeng ipakain pa rin sa mga animals natin. And then, lastly, will be your mga concentrates natin. Bakit crack corn yun? So, you have soybean meal, copra meal, blood meal, fish meal, meat and bone meal. So, yan. So, anyway, I hope that you have an idea na on the differences between roughages and concentrates when it comes to our feedstuff. Okay, so that ends our video lecture on animal nutrition. So, again, we will not be discussing further on a face-to-face basis itong animal nutrition part, but I will be sending you a lot of review materials for you to review on, for you to read on, so that you are prepared na if you will take the exam. So, if you have any question, then feel free to message me. And yun, feel free to message me kung meron para ma-clarify kasi yan yung hirap ng video lecture. Hindi kayo, wala kayong opportunity to actually raise question. So again, please message me if you have any questions. So again, if you're still here, thank you for listening.